Hey everyone, so I know you have the CK12 article about streams and rivers, but I just wanted to go into depth just a little bit with a few of them, just to probably help you out with a few of the questions. So let's go ahead and we'll get started. So the first thing that I want to talk about is really the anatomy of a river. Now, anatomy just really means what are the different parts of a river or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and start there. So, oh God, my face is on it. Ha, it can move me. Okay, so here's the different parts of a river and things like that. So we have a river source or a headwaters. You're going to hear it both ways, and you're also going to see it mentioned both ways in the article that's on the CK12. This just means this is the beginning of where the water source is taking place, the beginning of a river, pretty much. And so, again, be comfortable knowing that it's both words. So river source and headwaters means exactly the same thing. You're also going to hear us talk about tributaries as well. Tributaries are very, very important. You're going to hear a lot about them, especially just because they are usually a smaller stream that feeds into a larger river. The Mississippi has tons of these. It pretty much just means like if a small river or stream does not end in a pond, a lake, or an ocean, but it ends into a river or into a larger river, then it's a tributary. That's really all it means. And then the last is called the mouth or the delta. You're also going to hear me talk about estuaries a little bit later on today. That's also going to be in this area. It's the end. So we have the beginning, which is our river source or headwaters, and then we have the end, which is going to be a mouth, a delta, or an estuary. All of those mean exactly the same thing. Okay, there you go. That's the anatomy. It's not too complicated. Don't overthink it. These are just special words to give to the different spots on a river. So the next part then. River basin and divides. I'm going to move myself again. With this, so the first thing, understanding that a continental divide or drainage divide is another word that they call it, is the highest point between two river basins. So we have many different river basins in the United States. If you look in the SEK12 article, there will be a map and it will show you all the different river basins. That continental divide or that drainage divide just means the highest point between those two. So when precipitation falls, whether that's snow, rain, sleet, hail, whatever it may be, when it falls, it has to go down. Its gravity is pulling it down. And depending on what side it falls on, that's the river it's going to flow to. So for example, if we looked right over here, you can see that when the river, the rainfall was falling, this is going to go into the Mississippi River Basin, and then this side is going to go to Lake Michigan. So the right is going to Lake Michigan, and the left side is going to the Mississippi River Basin. And again, it's just depending on where the rainfall falls. It's not going to fall on the Lake Michigan or the Great Lakes Basin and then flow up and over to Mississippi River Basin. That's going against gravity. That's going against physics. It's not going to do that. So just to really show you how this works, you can see here that here's our divide right down the middle. Now, you're going to find tributaries are always going to be along these areas and everything like that. Tributaries are going to normally start at the top of a divide of some sort and work their way down. Again, it's not going to go against physics. It's not going to go against gravity. You're not going to find a tributary going up a divide and then down the other side. It doesn't work that way. It just physically cannot happen. So that's why you're never going to see a tributary go across a divide. It's because of with gravity and physics and things like that, you're not going to have that happen. Okay. If you would like to stay on, kind of like what I did for the polar molecules, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth. I'm actually going to talk about estuaries a little bit more. They were mentioned once in the CK12 article, and we're not going to really talk about them too much, but if you would like to know about estuaries and things like that, we're going to talk about them now. So Estuary, what exactly does that mean? So this is the end of a river, like I told you, pretty much at the mouth or what we call a delta, and it's when the runoff of a river is going to interact with the sea. So this is really a special situation because this is when freshwater and seawater meet. And you can actually see in this picture over here that you can actually have this really pretty, really unique ecosystem or habitat where animals and plants live, where this freshwater and seawater mix. It's very specific. And there are a good amount in the United States. However, that's it. They're the only ones. There's about 10 of them, I believe, in the United States. So, for example, why are they so important? The first is they are critical nature habitats, because if you have a specific animal or a specific plant that needs a certain amount of salt, or maybe doesn't need a certain amount of salt, but it's very specific to just the amount that's in an estuary, but it's maybe too salty for them to be in saltwater, and it's, the fresh water in the river is too, not enough salt for them. This is the only place they can live. It's very specific for them. A lot of organisms use this as a mating area when they're migrating, feeding, things like that. It's a water drainage area. It actually naturally filters water, so it makes it a very specific place. And a lot of scientists have been using estuaries in order to understand how can we filter out salt a little bit more to get fresh water. Economically, benefits tourism. A lot of people want to go see these, wetlands, these protected areas, things like that. Fishing can happen here. This is where a lot of shipping transportation happens because there is not a big drop off. There is a very gradual drop off into the ocean. So, boats are able to come in, bank, take out their fishing areas, things like that, go back to the water. It's also a natural buffer for floodwater and storm surges. So big hurricanes, big waves, things like that won't completely decimate an area because these estuaries actually have enough area to buffer that floodwater and things like that. So this is all I have for today. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, and then I can help out in whatever way